Good evening. Hello, everybody. It's Friday night. It's Friday again. Welcome back to the man cave. I've got Jeff here with us again tonight. Let me bring Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
How you doing?
And Tanya's hiding out back here too. Tanya's our executive producer in the background. She helps keep things moving properly around here. So I'd like to welcome everybody again. It's Friday. I've been looking forward to this all week. I'm ready for a glass of whiskey. I haven't had one all week long. Jeff, I noticed you had picked up some new stuff today. What are you having?
Tonight I'm having Jack Daniels Old Number Seven.
Oh, the old standby.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm gonna have some of this Knob Creek, this 12-year old. I'm getting close to the end of this bottle, and I have really enjoyed this. This has been good. I, Knob Creek. Hey, Freddie. Freddie's up there with us from Boston. I really like Knob Creek, and the 9-year old, the old standard 9-year old, something I kind of keep around. Do a lot of stuff with that. But when I saw this 12-year old, uh, I figured I'd grab it. It's not bottled in bond, but it's the same sort of deal. It's 100 proof, and it's pretty good. This one might be one that I replace. Tanya, you drinking with us tonight?
I am. I'm having a s'mores cappuccino.
A s'mores cappuccino, awesome.
Mhm.
From the Jura.
Oh yeah.
All righty, Randy, glad you could make it in here with us. Jeff's having the old Jack number seven. I've got some of that here. I've actually got a good bit of it. That's I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I do drink it occasionally, but currently I have such a shelf of stuff that's higher end than that I've been working on it. So cheers, everybody. If you're having a drink with me tonight, let me know what you're having in the comments and let me know where you're coming in from. Hmm. Scott's having a beer. Huzaifa's back with us tonight. He's the one that sent me down this rabbit hole. We're going to talk about that again tonight. It's something I've been wanting to get into. Tanya, I'm going to drop you back. We'll bring you back on here at the end. Nick's having some Sierra Nevada. That Sierra Nevada, they got some great beers. One of my favorite Oktoberfests is one of the larger ones. It's up in Freddie's neck of the woods. I like the Samuel Adams Oktoberfest. It's really good, and I've been seeing it around here lately. Paul's having a glass of wine, so excellent. Ed, glad you could make it in. Jeff, is it cooling off any for you down in Orlando?
A little bit with the afternoon rains, but it's nasty with the humidity.
It's been tolerable here for the last couple of weeks. It's the humidity's down and the temperatures are down. We haven't seen much in the 90s. We had one day last week in the 90s, but it's been in the upper 70s, mid 80s here. It's been kind of nice. Roberto, glad you could be with us. Uh, I haven't gotten a lot of cooking done this week. I got a little bit lazy this week. I had a couple other things I've been working on, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that here as we get into the discussion about dry aging. But I did one cook that I had a lot of fun with. Some of you know I've been playing around with TikTok, heating up the soapstone. Nancy is. I wonder what she's going to be searing on that stone. It's no telling, but I tell you what, it's going to be good. Jeff, what do you think about soapstone?
I love the soapstone. The soapstone is great for searing.
Soapstone or cast iron? Which one's your go-to?
Soapstone.
Why?
I think it holds the heat better. It's better heat soaked. easier to
Yep.
clean up.
It won't rust.
Well, definitely won't rust here in Florida. I mean, here in Florida, we have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have any cast iron grates on the grills.
Ed's down there in Texas. It's always hot in Texas, I think, except for this past spring. They had some cold weather down there in Texas that shut things down, but it's always hot in Texas. I wonder if Jarrell's out there with us tonight. So I see Freddie's hanging out here with us. I gotta hit Freddie up again. I'd still really like to get Freddie on here with me one night, talk about pizza. Freddie's he's a pizza master, and
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd really like to get him on here. All right. Lagavulin. I don't remember how to pronounce that. Single malt. I've got some Scotch whiskey up here. I need to get back out. Maybe next week I'll do that. Hank, glad you could make it. I've got some of that Highland Park and some of that Scapa from up in Orkney. Some of the Highland stuff. So I'm going to get that back out. I haven't bought any more Scotch whiskey in a while, but that Highland Park is really good. I'm really happy with that. The Scapa's different. It's not quite as I don't know how to describe it. My terminology for describing these things is just not there, but it's not quite as complex. Maybe it's a little bit. But the thing about it is it reminds me, if you've ever had the Pliny the Elder, is a highly sought after beer that comes out of the West Coast. It comes out of Russian River Brewing, and it's a very hoppy beer, but it's hard to get on the East Coast. But it's a very highly rated beer, but it's got a very clean flavor profile to it. There's not a lot going on there, but that's one of the things that I think makes it so incredible. It's one of these things, like Chef Eric would say, simplicity done well wins every time, and this is one of those beers. And this Scapa whiskey's like that too. Yeah. All right. I'm just trying to get this whiskey rolling. Got a good crowd with us tonight. Luca's out there. Glad he could make it. We're gonna get Luca on here too. Luca's Pizza Game. Jesus, Jeff, have you been watching that?
Yep. He's turning out some wicked pizzas.
Good Lord.
All now is we really need Trey to come on with that mixer that he's got. I mean, he mixes up 30 dough balls at a time in that thing.
Well, yeah, Freddie's got that Famag. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Famag. It's a spiral mixer, and it's one of the things I want to see him do with it that I haven't seen yet is get do some of that really high hydration stuff. That's what that mixer's good at. I've watched a couple of people, go 75% on the hydration and higher with that mixer, and it does a beautiful job with it. I would like to play with one of those mixers, but I'm having a hard time. I got too many other irons in the fire to buy the mixer. That to me would be a one-trick pony here because I wouldn't do anything with it. But, well, Jeff, you know how wet that focaccia dough we made is? This mixer would rock that focaccia dough. It really would do an amazing job with that. But it's incredible. It's mesmerizing to me just for watching it work because it's yeah, and it's a beautiful piece of machinery. All right, so yeah, Freddie said he did an 85% one. I missed it. I didn't see that, but that mixer, after you've been using a setup like that for a while, you can see how the process works. You can almost watch the gluten develop by how the dough kind of climbs the hook when you're mixing it. It's, Jeff, you've got a KitchenAid?
Yep.
you know how as the longer you knead that dough, the more it climbs the dough hook. That's how you can tell how your gluten's developing as you're going in the mixer. And there's sweet spots that you learn getting time. Hey, Alan's here from Melbourne. Good. No alcohol at 9:30. That's right. You can't drink before noon. That's a crime against humanity. So after noon, we'll raise a glass for you early. But yeah, I'm going to talk about pizza. Let me just do that now since the subject is up here. I came across something this week that I wanted to talk about here tonight, and I've actually put it in here, and I'm going to bring this up. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the modernist cuisine, but they have this pizza series coming out now. It's coming out in October, and this book set's really got my attention. I've got a couple of great books about pizza, and they have really upped my pizza game from when I got started. But these modernist cuisine things are really they're really in depth, and this is a 3-volume set. The first volume is the history and fundamentals, and I think I saw somewhere in this ad that there's 1,700 plus pages between these 3 volumes. And the history and fundamentals of pizza here, and then techniques and ingredients. This is if I could only buy one piece of this, that would be the one I would want right there, is the techniques and ingredients. And then there's a recipes book in the set, and then there's this kitchen manual. I don't have any idea what's in that kitchen manual, but for those of you who are familiar with modernist cuisine, you're fully aware that those books are expensive. And this set is listed on Amazon right now on the pre-order at about $380 for the set. But I've put it on my list because it's highly likely that I'm going to find a way to get that, because it's just something that I would do. It's not something that I would feel like is a waste of money based on the other stuff I've seen from modernist cuisine. If any of you guys here have modernist cuisine or have dealt with modernist cuisine before, let me know what you think about it, because it's like Alton Brown on steroids. You know how Alton Brown and like Kenji get into the science and get into the how-tos and what fors and why nots of cooking. These modernist cuisine people are levels above that. Have you seen any of that stuff before, Jeff?
No, I haven't. I've just been interested in the Alton Brown series, but that modernist cuisine, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I saw some of the modernist cuisine stuff last time I was in a physical Barnes and Noble store, but it's wrapped up where you can't look at it. You can't open it up and thumb through it, because their regular modernist cuisine set for regular typical cooking's $600+ for that set. It's 5 or 6 volumes of stuff, but I'd really love for that stuff to end up in one of the public libraries somewhere where I can go have a look at it. Yeah, it's just not happening. But let's have a look at the only cook I did this week that I made pictures of. Let's see. Margaret's with us. Hey, Margaret, glad you could make it. My sister. Luca wants to borrow all my stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that book set. I've got some Amazon credit, and I might just wait till I've got enough. I build credit with Amazon every month on my credit card, my Amazon Prime card. And I might just wait till I have enough of that to buy that series, and then I'll probably just buy it where it'll be no cash out of pocket. So, Don, the secret is keep your hands wet or keep your hands floured, depending on which direction you need to go. And learning to knead that dough the dough tightens up as you knead it, and as the gluten forms, typically, if your gluten hasn't formed up well enough, it is a mess. It's kind of hard to work with. It's one of these things that's hard to describe without showing you and having your hands in it at the same time. That's one of the things that makes it so hard to learn pizza and bread, is there's only so much you can learn from reading it in the book or seeing it in pictures. You got to have your hands in it. And it's also helpful if you got somebody standing there with you that knows what they're doing. That's a great thing. So anyway, I've been playing around on TikTok, and there's a lot of great foodie stuff on TikTok I've discovered. And I came across a recipe idea on TikTok the other night, and it was called Meatball Sub Casserole, and it just blew me away. Yeah, a GoFundMe. You know, Nancy, I don't think anybody give me $1. I really struggle with that. We'll see. You can support me on my Patreon page if you like, and I can use some of that money to buy that book. If the link here is in the upper left-hand corner, the Man Cave, patreon.com/mancavemeals. So, but anyway, I made the meatballs from scratch. Here, I didn't take individual pictures in the process of this, but actually, I made a video of this cook. So this video will be publishing tonight. It'll show up on Atlanta Grill Company's Facebook page and YouTube channel. I think I programmed that to come on at 8 p.m. So this is a video, but I made the meatballs from scratch, which you don't have to do. You know, you can skip that part if you don't want to do it from scratch and just use grocery store meatballs. And if you do that, this is a really quick dish to put together. So you get your meatballs together, and I threw these meatballs on the grill at 400 degrees, gave them just a little bit of smoke and a little bit of heat. And here's what I had 15 minutes later. I didn't want to overcook the meatballs in the grill, so I pulled them off. And then I got a can of biscuit dough. This is one of these grocery store variety cans of biscuits. There's 8 biscuits in there, and I cut each biscuit into 8 pieces. And then I tossed the biscuit pieces in a mixing bowl with the meatballs and dumped in a 24-ounce jar of marinara sauce, a cup of shredded Mott's, and I just mixed that stuff up. And I spread it all out in a 9x13 dish and put more mozzarella on top. And I actually shook a little oregano on top of that as well, just because I love the way oregano smells when you're cooking something like this, which some might call this Italian. So I threw this back on the same grill at 400 degrees for about a half an hour, and this is what we end up with. It was really good. And this is what Tanya and I had for dinner last night. Let's, Tanya, you with me?
I am.
Was that any good?
It was good. I enjoyed it. And my mom was so excited about it that when I took her the leftovers, she was like, "Oh, these are still warm." And she had a second supper last night.
Tanya and I ate this for dinner last night, and we gave what we had left to her parents. And like I said, this is really simple. It's really easy. Like I said, I like to make meatballs. That's the meatballs. It's a real simple meatball. It's just ground beef, breadcrumbs, 1 egg. I put some garlic powder in it, some paprika, some salt, some pepper. I think that's probably about all. Oh, I put some Italian seasoning blend in the meatballs also. And I made the meatballs up early where they could kind of marinate a little bit before I cooked them. I think I let those meatballs rest in the fridge for 3 or 4 hours before I cooked them. And if you want to make your meatballs from scratch, you can actually do that ahead of time. You could do that the day before and put them in the refrigerator in a covered dish, and they'll be fine for 2 days probably in the refrigerator. Or you can throw them in the freezer. You can make up when you make meatballs. you could make 4 pounds of them instead of 1 pound of ground beef's worth, and put them in the freezer, and then you've got them. The one thing is I really don't know. I haven't bought very many pre-made meatballs at the grocery store. I don't know what they cost. And Gary, yes, I would use 80/20. I used 85/15 yesterday because my local grocery store, for some reason or another, they're always out of 80/20 ground chuck. They don't have it. Oh, Brian wants to know about my hat. This is a PK Grills hat. It's I bought that at Atlanta Grill Company. I don't think they have them on their website. I think you actually have to go in the store to get those. But if you can't get it from them, you can get it directly from PK at pkgrills.com or whatever their website is. They've got these hats on there. But this is the winter one it's not open. It's not mesh in the back. But yeah, I love this hat. But that's all the cooking I did this week. I didn't do anything else worthy. Well, I did one other thing. Let me just tell you this story. I've been playing around with this Auto Wild broiler. I was gonna have some this afternoon. One of my projects was going to be I was going to cook a steak with that. So I went shopping this morning. I bought a really nice looking New York strip. It was about 1.25 inches thick, really nice marbling. It was a really good looking steak. And I brought it home. I salted it. I put a pat of butter on it, a piece of fresh rosemary, and I put it in a vacuum seal bag and threw it in my sous vide bath. I was just going to sous vide cook that and then finish it off in the Auto Wild. And it was getting about time for the sous vide to be finished. And I went out there, and I can't light the grill. I can't light the burners on it. They will not fire. I don't know what's wrong with it. I checked all my connections. I did everything, but I don't have any gas flowing. I can't hear gas flowing when I've got the gas valves open on it. I know it's not my propane cylinder because I took it and tried it on the gas grill, and it works there. So I've either got a problem in the hose or something stopped up somewhere, but it looks like I'm going to have to send that thing in for repair. So it might be a while till you see anything else coming out on that. I don't know what's wrong with it. And I don't think I'm going to take it apart to try to troubleshoot it. They haven't asked me to do that. I've been working with their support guy, and he says I need to send it in to get it repaired. So I haven't sent it. I don't know what the procedure is going to be for that yet. I don't have any details, but that didn't happen today. So I had a steak for lunch this afternoon that was cooked sous vide, and I finished it off in an iron pan with a little ghee and garlic. So yeah, Paul, it could be a bad regulator, but I don't know if the regulator in the hose or is it somewhere inside the grill unit. I don't know how that works, and it may be in the hose. One thing I didn't try is to see if I could get gas to come out of the end of the hose without having it hooked to the grill. I didn't feel real comfortable doing that. I probably could, but I also didn't smell any propane. This propane's got some sort of chemical in it where you can smell it if there's a leak, and I didn't smell anything, so I don't know. I'll give you more news on the Auto Wild once I have it. Jeff, what do you know? Do you know what I've done wrong here?
Not a clue, buddy. You told me in your text message you tapped this, you beat on that, you cussed a little. Hey, you did all the things to troubleshoot.
Yeah, the cuss words didn't help either. Sometimes they do, but in my case, not very often. I tried that. That's a valid troubleshooting technique.
Absolutely. It's always step 3.
My wife's better at that than I am. she heard that. So yeah, it's the connector on the cylinder. Okay, it's that little round thing down there. Yeah, I don't know. It might be bad. If that was the problem, then I should be able to go to my local hardware store and buy another one and fix it. But I don't know. There's so many of those things. The pressure regulators are all different. And this, I'm sure, is a special case. So I don't know. Anyway, let's get on into some talking about dry age, since that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Earlier this week, I went and did a little shopping. I bought a whole ribeye and cried all the way to the cash register with this thing. This beef is really expensive right now. This one, as you can see, 17 and a half pounds, and it's what does that say? $14 a pound, 13.98 a pound for that. The last one of these I bought was either 9.98 a pound or 10.98 a pound. It's been quite a while since I've bought a whole one, but the last whole one I bought was like $180. It was a good bit less than this, but this is a big one, and it's currently sitting on a rack in my refrigerator, and I'm gonna dry age it. But what I want to talk about here just for a couple of minutes is dry aging and what it is. Jeff, have you ever tried dry aging at home?
No, I have not.
There's a lot of ways to do this, but in a nutshell, I did some research this week on how to try to explain dry aging in layman's terms to where it makes sense and doesn't go off the rails for anything technical. And what's happening when you dry age beef is you are removing moisture from the beef. You are promoting an internal reaction in the beef with bacteria and enzymes that cause several things to happen inside the beef. It's tenderizing the beef, and it's creating flavor that wasn't there to begin with. Don't take this the wrong way, but what it is a controlled rot, if that makes sense. I've heard it referred to that way a lot of times. And so in order for this to happen and for it to happen safely, it's got to be in some controlled conditions. Dry aging needs to take place in a situation where the temperature for beef is, 35 to 38, 39 degrees. You want to be under 40 degrees, but you want to be above 32. You don't want to freeze it. And the humidity needs to be between 70 and 80%. It needs to be kept that. And that's why it's more difficult to do this in a regular refrigerator, because in a regular refrigerators are designed to be dry environments. The humidity in a typical refrigerator is very low. It's not anywhere near high enough to do this properly. So the reason people want to dry age beef is because of that tenderness factor that you get, but the reduction of moisture and the enzymatic reaction that happens inside the beef creates a very intense beef flavor. Jeff, I'm assuming you have eaten some dry aged beef.
Definitely.
Okay. So are you agreeing with what I'm saying here so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've researched the process and whatnot. The only thing the reason why I haven't done it is because there's mixed emotions on the end results doing it in a refrigerator as opposed to doing it in a steak cooker.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about 3 ways to do this, and I've done it 2 of the 3 ways. And the first one that I want to talk about is doing it in your regular refrigerator. There's a way to do that, and I've done it 3 or 4 times now with great success. So right here I haven't done this to this one yet. We're going to talk about the first method. This Umai dry bag is the technique for doing it in a regular refrigerator, and I have brought up their website here. This company sells these special vacuum seal bags. They are not your typical vacuum seal bags. there's some sort of special bag, and these bags are designed to let moisture out and oxygen in. Don't ask me how they work. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but this process will not work in a regular vacuum seal bag like a food saver bag or your typical chamber sealer bags. This bag is some sort of special material that allows this process to work. So I took some pictures. I made a video a long time ago on this process. So I took some screen grabs out of the video that I made. This is a whole rib. This is the last whole ribeye that I dry aged in one of the Umai dry bags. And first of all, I got a shipment today. I ordered some of these over the weekend last week after we talked about doing this. I knew after last week's live stream I was going to do this. I bought a 3-pack of the Umai dry bags that are big enough to hold that roast that's in my refrigerator. And that package is those 3 bags. It's $22 for the 3 bags, and it cost me $6 to get it delivered. So, or $6 or so. I've got $27.93 in getting those 3 bags delivered. And I'm probably only going to use one of those. So we'll see. If anybody actually wants to try this after we've talked about it here, let me know, because I'll share a bag with you. At least one of these bags. I'll send it to you and you can try it as well. This bag, this is the meat after the dry age. I'll let this one dry age for 35 days. And you can see the outside color of it. It's turned black. It's turned leathery. And this becomes waste. You have to trim this off. So there's a good bit of loss when you do this. I don't remember what this roast weighed to start with. I didn't go back and actually watch this video. I should have, but you're going to lose a good bit of weight on the roast from water loss and from what you have to trim off. This is what it looks like out of the bag. I've cut that open here, and you can see in here these whole roasts also, there's a big piece of fat on the end that you're going to trim off, and it's just I just paid $14 a pound for that strip of fat that's on mine, and that's probably, when I trim all of that off, it's probably going to be, before it's dried, I'm guessing there's 3 or 4 pounds. There might be 3 or 4 pounds of fat right there, but that comes off. But you don't want to trim it off before you dry age. Don't do that. But you can see this outer skin on this guy's really leathery. But what this beef takes on a really deep, dark crimson color with the moisture loss and with the reaction that's going on inside of that. And before you cook one of these guys, you trim that decal, or what do you want to call it, a pellicle maybe. You trim that off because it does not cook well and it's real chewy. And a lot of people save that and do a lot of things with it. Some people save that and they'll grind some of it in with ground beef, or they'll toss it in a pot with a mirepoix and make beef stock out of it. It's really good for that as well. But here's what you end up with. You end up with a beautiful steak. This process, in my opinion, is the most economical way to dry age beef. You don't have a lot of cost in this. The equipment you need, you need to clear off a shelf in a refrigerator long enough to put a piece of beef that big. This one went for 35 days. I think I have not dry aged beef longer than 40 days yet. I have had some beef that's dry aged for 60, and I'm not 100% sure I'm a big fan of that. Some dry aged beef is an acquired taste. You if you want to start out, if you've never done it before, I recommend starting out at 30 to 35 days for the first time and then experiment with it. If you want to take a roast like the one I just showed you and cut it in half and do half of it for 35 days and let the other half go for 60 or 70 days, then you can compare the difference. These, the flavors that develop here get quite funky the longer you go. It's hard to describe if you haven't had it before. It's kind of like blue cheese, you know. It brings a cheesy a nuttiness to it. Jeff, have you had dry aged beef that's gone 60 days or longer?
No, 45 is the longest I've had.
I'm thinking 35 to 40 days is kind of a sweet spot for typical dry aging, and that's where I'm going to go. And like I said, guys, I've bought this set of bags. That roast that I bought, we're going to dry age it, and I don't know if I'm going to have time tomorrow to start that process, but if I don't, it's going to get started on Monday, and I'm probably going to let that go for 35 days, and I'm going to make video. I'm going to turn this into 2 videos. I'm going to do one of just the dry aging process from start to finish using the Umai dry bags. And then the second video, what I intend to do with that big roast that's in the refrigerator right now, I'm going to cut most of that into steaks. But I'm going to save one piece of it, and I'm going to do a prime rib roast that's a dry aged prime rib because I've never done that before. I would like to try that. Jeff, have you ever had dry aged prime rib?
Nope.
I haven't either, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'll have to see if I can maybe find somebody that's done one or that's had it. I haven't. I've not done one, and I haven't had it. I've always done steaks, and I'm probably going to take a 4-pound section out of whatever's finished and do a prime rib with it because I really think it'll be amazing. I really think it'll be good. And then that's going to be a video, and then we're going to do some steaks, some dry aged steaks, because I know I love a dry aged prime rib. I also love dry aged New York strip. But anyway, this is one way to do that with the Umai dry bags. Let me see where we are in the pictures here. I don't have pictures of this next process. If you want to up your game from the dry bags, and if you don't want to use your regular refrigerator, and if you don't want to use the Umai dry bags, you can build a dedicated refrigerator. If you have the technical ability, I tried this and mine flopped, and we're going to talk about it. I have over here on the other side of the bar in the man cave, I have a drink cooler that I bought at Sam's Club. The brand name on it is Tremontina. You may have seen these before. It's a small refrigerator that does not have a freezer in the upper section of it. It's just a refrigerator. You can also do this with a regular full-size refrigerator if you know what you're doing. There are some controllers out there that you can buy to run that refrigerator at whatever temperature you want to run it. And it needs to be fairly consistent. So I recommend a third-party controller where your temperature is not constantly fluxing up and down. These third-party controllers will allow you to keep that temperature in a more consistent range. But the thing about it is the hardest part of it is keeping the humidity where you want it. I followed several sets of instructions about using a fan inside the refrigerator, a salt plate, and a water pan. And I was marginally successful with a couple of dry ages, but I lost an entire ribeye roast in here because what I didn't realize is I had frozen the back half of the roast because the back side of the refrigerator where the cooling elements are apparently, I don't know what happened, but half of that thing froze, and that ruined it. What I had set up was not good enough, and this, as Jeff will tell you, Jeff knows me well enough to know I suck at stuff like that. I don't build stuff. I can't build things well. I can't fix things well. I'm the kind of guy that wants to buy a turnkey package. But let me tell you, if you have the wits about you to buy, you need 2 controllers. You can get these temperature control units. Johnson Controls makes some, and there's probably some out there that are even less expensive than those. But you also need one, and I think Inkbird makes some of this stuff as well. One of the ones I looked at earlier today, but you have to control the humidity. And one of the coolest things I saw this week when I was looking into this is somebody had a regular size refrigerator with one of these humidifiers inside of it that blows up kind of like a misty, almost a steam vapor humidifier. If you know what I'm talking about, Jeff? But they had that in there, and then they had a hygrometer in there that turned that thing on and off to keep the humidity where they needed it. And after I looked at that, I said, I probably could do that. But the thing about it is I'm going to have a refrigerator. It needs to do one like that. I think you need a larger, almost a full-size refrigerator. If you can get one, would be best. You know, it could live in your garage or live in your basement, somewhere out of the way. But having a computerized temperature controller and a computerized humidity controller, you could probably pull this off, and you'll be able to pull it off for less money than what I'm getting ready to show you. There are several companies out here that are making turnkey dry aging systems, and no thanks to you guys, I just bought one of them. I ordered one this week.
Don't blame me.
No, it wasn't Jeff's fault.
Don't blame me.
I'm blaming it on Huzaifa. Huzaifa's here with us tonight. He's the one that started this, but I'm happy about it because my wife and I talked about it. And like last week, if you were here with us last week, we were talking about this. She said, you know, I can't believe you hadn't already done it because I've been talking about it for a long time. But out of everything I've looked at, this thing's called the Steak Locker. This thing's been around a while, and it's a turnkey system for dry aging, and it's I've got some pictures here. These pictures came off the Steak Ager or the Steak Locker website. This is a purpose-built refrigerator that's got its onboard computer controlled for temperature and humidity, and it has Wi-Fi control. If you want to, I believe they have an iOS app. They also have an Android app, and I'm an Android guy, but I was looking at the reviews on their Android app, and they're horrible. People don't think the Android app's worthwhile, but fortunately, this is not something I feel like I need to monitor remotely. This guy's going to be sitting at home. I don't need to pull it up while I'm at the grocery store to see what the temperature is in this. So, but this is what it looks like. It's really well made. It looks really nice. It's got a water tray in it. Now these next pictures, I'm going to give credit. These are not mine. These are from one of Chef Tom Jackson's videos from atbbq.com, all things barbecue out in Wichita, Kansas. They sell these things. And yeah, Gary, we're going to talk about charcuterie here in just a moment. Thanks for mentioning that, because we're going to talk about that too. But this has a water tank in it and a filter, but I believe the current model is different from this. I believe they've updated this so it doesn't look exactly like that anymore. Up top, we've got the control panel for setting the temperature and the humidity where you want it. So like I said, for dry aging beef, you want that temperature 35 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. You want your humidity, 75%, maybe even 80%. And you've got the ability to control that right here from this panel. You don't need a specific controller, no stuff hanging out of it or anything. This one has a UVC light in it. to help. One of the things if anybody has ever been around beef that's dry aging, there's an odor that can be created. So if you're going to build your own system like the refrigerator I just told you about, you will be better off putting that guy in your basement or in your garage or somewhere, because there will be an odor coming from it, and some may not like that odor. But this UV light in here, along with the fans that are circulating air in this guy, take care of that stuff. They keep it minimized. And this guy's got 2 big racks in it. I didn't look up the dimensions on these racks, but in the next picture here, you can see this is a whole ribeye roast sitting on one of those racks. So I don't know how much space is behind it, but you can get at least 2 of those in there, and you could probably buy additional racks for this thing if you wanted to. If you look over here on the side, you can see these racks are also adjustable along this track. You can put them up higher or down lower, so you could get additional racks. There's also a bar across the back here where you can hang things, which brings me to the charcuterie. Okay, that's the end of the pictures for tonight. That brings me back to the charcuterie portion. And one of the things that I think I'm going to end up doing mostly with my steak locker is charcuterie. I might occasionally dry some of these whole ribeyes or whole pork or whole New York strips, but I want to make my own pepperoni. I want to make my own salami, and you can do that in these things as well. Doing that type of charcuterie requires a little different temperature and humidity range. From what I'm reading, most of that stuff wants to happen around 55 degrees Fahrenheit and about 70 to 75% humidity. And the steak locker, or the steak locker gives you the option to do that. It gives you the option to put those temperatures wherever you need them. I've been reading about it because my wife loves things. She loves cured meats. She loves salami. I will be able to do prosciutto. I'll be able to do salumi. I'll be able to do summer sausages. You know, a lot of these things that are cured without cooking them. And for those of you that are familiar with the curing salts, typically when we do curing, like on pastrami or something, we're using that Instacure #1 or the Prague powder #1, which is a mixture of sodium nitrite and sodium chloride. These curings that happen with the dry ager, they're not cooked. You know, you don't cook pepperoni until you're ready to maybe put it on a pizza or something. They're done with the Instacure #2 or the Prague powder #2, which has some sodium nitrate in it. And over time, through the curing process, those nitrates become nitrites, and they're safe. You just have to, there's some specific instructions you have to follow. There's a couple of great websites I've come across looking for some of the supplies I need to do this, but I am really excited about pepperoni and salami. I'm going to do those 2 things for sure. I don't know what else I'm going to do yet. I'm going to have to figure out what I can do and what I can't do. But I've watched a bunch of video content this week on making salami and making pepperoni, and it doesn't look difficult. I have a meat grinder. I have a sausage stuffer. I bought a sausage stuffer on sale about 2 or 3 years ago that I haven't taken out of the box yet. I got it for half price at Academy Sports, and I wanted to play with it, and I've never gotten around to it. But the meat grinder and the sausage stuffer are going to be coming out for these charcuterie projects. I don't know what else I can pull off with it. There are some cheese projects I think that can happen in this environment as well. I don't know. Kevin's come to see Jeff. Look at that. Parma ham, yes. There's all kinds of things that we can do here, and like I said, it's going to be a rabbit hole, and I'll make some video content on that, and that's video content that'll show up on the Man Cave Meals uh, channel more so than the Atlanta Grill Company, because this is not an Atlanta Grill Company product. It could become that way at some point, and if it does, I think that would be awesome. But it currently is not, and so thoughts, Jeff?
Hey, I think it's wild that you're getting that steak locker. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with that. I don't know that I could justify that in my house.
I can't justify it either.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things you can't justify it. I always use the N plus one factor. You know, you got one, you need another one.
Yeah, it's not. For me, it's not about justification. For me, it's a hobby.
Oh, definitely.
It's always hard to justify your hobby.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Particularly, you know,
Cindy,
we have wives that support our hobby.
yeah. Cindy says if I'm doing it, AGC will carry it. I've talked to AGC about this product. I've talked to Gary and Jason both about it. I'd love to see something happen there, but I guess what we'll do is we'll get it rolling and we'll see what kind of. Now this is. I don't want to get into the cost. You guys can go look at what the steak lockers cost on their website. They're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. They've got 3 models of it, and I bought the middle model, and it's not cheap, and it's I think it's more than a lot of people would spend. That's why I wanted to talk about 3 options. These Umai dry bags are the cheap way. You can do everything we've talked about tonight, even the charcuterie, through products that you can buy from these people and do it in your regular refrigerator. Their website's full of instructions on how to do it with their product. They've got a lot of video content. If you want to upgrade that process, you have to build your own. And I feel like in order to build your own dedicated dry aging refrigerator, and to do it right, and to do it the way I would think that it's right, you're going to spend $800. What's a cheap refrigerator cost, Jeff? I haven't priced these things lately.
Cheap one you get for about 400.
400. Okay, well maybe not 800 then. You could get $400, and I don't know what those computer controllers cost, but you're going to have one for humidity, one for to run the refrigerator itself, and you're going to have to. It's going to be more hands-on with that system, obviously, but this one. The one I bought is what I call a turnkey package. It's going to get, I'm hoping that it's going to get that hashtag that I like to use on Man Cave Meals called hashtag MCM Really Right Stuff. You guys see me use that hashtag. If I put that hashtag on anything that I've posted about in Man Cave Meals, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will personally stand behind how great that product is. I don't use that hashtag just for fun. Anytime you see it, yeah. Andy says that they're $1,000 for a basic one, but I'm sure you could find a cheap one. You know, you don't have to have a brand new refrigerator. You can go to Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and get a refrigerator that works. It doesn't have to have any features of any kind other than the fact that the compressor's good and it'll make cold air. Because these controllers that you use to control that thing, you plug the refrigerator into the controller, you run the controller's temperature sensor in through the door of the refrigerator, and you set your temperature on your controller, and that controller cycles the power on and off on that refrigerator. The humidity one works the exact same way for the humidifier that you're going to set inside the refrigerator. I don't know what those controllers cost, so at a bare minimum, you're going to have whatever it costs you to get the refrigerator plus those 2 controllers and a humidifier. And like I said, I should have researched what those cost. It'd have been more useful to you tonight if I knew what that cost. Okay,
Yeah,
those
but
are
John,
three.
I would go with the steak locker. I mean, you
Well,
invest all that
I
money,
would.
you get the refrigerator, you get the other stuff, and you're halfway through a dry age, and all of a sudden, fecal matter hits rotary oscillator, and you're out the window.
Right. That's the way I like to think about it. Most of you guys know I'm the buy. I try to claim that I'm the buy once, cry once kind of guy, but I'm not always. I'm still learning that lesson in some cases, and like I said, I've been through these three stages. I've been through this. I've been through the trying to build it my own, and now I've bought the one that I wanted to get to begin with. I've ordered it, and also it's going to be a while till that thing shows up here. When I ordered on their website last week, it said that I needed to place my order now for the stuff that they've got arriving at the end of October. So, Gary says the controller, is that both controllers or just the one? He says it's $200 and then a $50 or $60 humidifier. So it's $250 on top of whatever your refrigerator cost is. But I won't see my steak locker until sometime in November, I don't think. Maybe if they come in the end of October, that's all I know is that it said the orders come for the shipment for the end of October. I don't know if I'll see it at the end of October. If not, I'm figuring it'll be sometime in the first week or two of November. But when it gets here, say what?
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah. When it gets here, I'll do the same sort of thing I do with all my toys like that. I'll do a walk around video of it. I'm going to show you the product and what it is and how it works. I like to do that. I don't call it a review. I don't call my stuff like that a review. It's a walk around demo because I can't do a review on something that I hadn't had for a while, and I'm not going to call it a review. We might do a review on it a year later, but you'll know if I like it or not because you'll see video content on it if I do, and you won't if I don't. But so I'm talking enough that I'm not getting my whiskey done. I'm going on a canoe tent camping trip. All right, Ryan, are you asking about a grill to take with you? And Jeff, don't let me forget. I've got a question I need to answer for Huzaifa. He wants to know if I cook dry aged beef any differently. I need to make sure I address that. He's going on a canoe tent camping trip this weekend. It makes me wonder what strategies or recipes you could suggest for a more rustic outing. I don't know if
I can give him all kinds of ideas.
Well, I don't know if I'd try to take a grill with me on a trip like that. In a canoe,
yes,
I would. Well,
here's
Jeff,
the grill that you want to take with you on a camping trip. You go down to Walmart and you buy that $3.99 disposable grill. Throw everything away but the brake.
Nope. Yeah. I'm not buying that. I want to take the Weber Go Anywhere.
Now, if you're going on a canoe trip like that, you just take that grate and you're good to go. I used to do that all the time with Scott. We take them out on the survival campouts.
What are you carrying, a bag of charcoal?
Nope. Use wood.
It's disposable. It's a grill that's in a disposable pan.
Right, but you just take the grate. That's all you want to carry with you because you want to be light. So you just take 2 logs, set it up on the 2 logs, put yourself, oak underneath it.
You're going to build a wood fire underneath it. Okay, well, in that case, yeah, all you need is a cast iron grate. If you want to, it doesn't even have to be cast iron. It can be stainless. You don't want to carry cast iron. Too heavy. Huh?
You don't want to carry cast iron. Too heavy. Just that cheap grill grate.
So go to your local hardware store and buy a cheap replacement grill grate for whatever grill line they carry. Mm-hmm. Home Depot and Lowe's have Weber replacement grill grates. Depends on how much space you need. You can get I know Weber sells, I know they have 18-inch diameter circles. I think a rectangle might be a little more effective if you can find a rectangular grill, and you can do like Jeff said, you can build a wood fire. But if you have the means, I don't know how many nights he's going, how many days this trip is, because if it wasn't too many days, and if I had the resources to do it, I'd carry a bag of Kingsford with me. Jeff says no, he wouldn't do that.
Cook over the wood coals. What I used to do on Boy Scouts when I take them out, I'd get the ice packs that used to get mother's milk packaged in, because those hold up a long time.
Yeah.
Put that in an insulated bag, freeze your steak, freeze your sour cream, freeze your butter, put it all in there. Second night out, it's thawed, it's beautiful, ready to rock and roll.
Ryan, I've got a better solution. You can camp like me and my wife do in the Holiday Inn. Then you can run across the street to the Cracker Barrel to get something to eat.
You call that glamping.
Speaking of that glamping, oh boy, I'm going to tell a story on Bobby Brennan's wife. I saw a post. Bobby's the guy that used to own Kamado Joe. His wife posted something on Facebook. She was taking her daughters on some sort of camping trip that was being held on the fairway of some golf course in a country club. And she posted on Facebook about what kind of tent she needed to get, and people were giving her all kinds of advice on the tent that she needed to buy for this camping trip on the golf course. I thought that was funny, and I can see it happening. It sounds like a lot of fun. So yeah, Ryan, glad you could join us tonight. Huzaifa had asked me a question prior to the start of this show about cooking, if I cook my dry aged beef any differently. And in short, the answer is no, I don't. There's a couple of considerations though. One of the things I like to do with steaks is I like to salt my steaks before I cook them and kind of let them dry brine for a while. And here's a situation I don't know the answer to. The reduced moisture content in these steaks, I don't know if the dry brining process would work as well. So what I'm going to do differently is I'm going to salt the steak while I'm cooking it rather than really far in advance. This Jeff, would you cook dry? Would you change anything about your cooking technique for a dry aged steak?
Only thing I'd change is I wouldn't salt it, beforehand like you and I normally do for a regular steak, because, like you said, the moisture content isn't there, so that salt's not going to be pulling out, the moisture.
Right.
Basically, going to be sitting there on top, so you may as well just salt it and season it, when it's in your pan. The only thing that I would probably do differently with dry age is I would sear it over the fire. Then I would throw it in a cast iron pan with some ghee and let it finish up that way. Some ghee and some thyme. Let it finish up that way.
Okay. So you'd sear first?
Yep.
Well, as well as most of the people that follow me know, I sear first most of the time anyway.
It's the only way to ensure the correct doneness.
Say what?
It's the only way to ensure the correct doneness. You got the sear, now you're just ready to finish count.
Well, yeah, this prime rib that I'm going to do, I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to tackle that yet, but I'm probably going to make, when I cook a prime rib, I don't see a need to sear the outside of it. I typically don't sear my prime ribs. Well, if I'm going to sear the prime rib, I like to put it in a 500 or 550 degree grill or oven for 15 or 20 minutes first. And I don't worry about surface searing with cast iron or a soapstone or over direct flame. But I'm thinking on the dry aged prime rib that I'm probably going to make myself a paste to go on the outside of it, and I'm just going to smoke it. I'm not going to sear it. I'm going to make a mustard and herb paste, and I won't go hardcore with the mustard. I might make a mustard and sour cream mixture
I was
with.
gonna say use mayonnaise rather than
Well, you
mustard.
could use mayonnaise also. Mayonnaise would be fine, and I'll probably put rosemary and thyme, and uh, I might get crazy and put some coriander. Some coriander in that as well, and maybe even some sage. But when you put herbs like that in there, you don't want to sear because those herbs will scorch and they'll taste horrible. Uh, but those, if you leave those herbs, if you let those herbs just roast in that fat from the mayonnaise, and maybe just mayonnaise. You can maybe even leave the mustard out and let those herbs go to work. And garlic,
So
put some
that's why I
garlic.
say the mayonnaise rather than
Yeah,
the mustard. That
mayonnaise is
herbs
probably
do the
good.
work. The mayonnaise is just your binding agent.
Yeah. Beth says she seared her prime rib in a cast iron pan on the gasser and then finished it on the Big Joe. That's a good plan, Beth. Next time you do that, I want you to try something. I want you to leave the cast iron pan out of the equation. Heat your gas grill up until you've got a temperature of 550, maybe even 600 degrees, and just set that roast in there. You can have salt on it. You can go ahead and salt it if you want to. In fact, I recommend that. Salt's not going to scorch, but salt it, put it in there, and just watch it, and let the outside of that roast brown, and then go finish it up on the Joe. Do it without the cast iron. I think you might see a really intriguing difference in your result. I rub my rib roast with mustard, salt, and pepper. Yeah, that's fine. But I like to bring some herbs to the game with the prime rib. There's some really beautiful flavors you can bring, like what I like to call it, the Simon and Garfunkel. Parsley, rosemary, and thyme. I typically leave the parsley out. I don't think parsley's bringing anything to the game on a prime rib, but rosemary, sage, and thyme, or or just sage and thyme even, uh, is a really beautiful flavor, and I love the aromas that come together. And at Christmas, I've got a couple of huge planter pots outside, and one of them's got sage in it, and the other one's got thyme in it. And I've got an incredibly large patch of rosemary growing outside. Also, I'm gonna give you a secret. When those plants, when all your leaves are gone, if you're in an area where they don't thrive year round, cut the stems, cut the woody parts of the stems off, and get a bunch of those. Get your rosemary. They don't have to be dried even. They can still be green. And get a bunch of that, the woody parts of the stems of rosemary, sage, and thyme, and put them in a foil packet. And I've done this before, and just stuff it full of those woody stems. Pack it up really tight, fold it up, and poke about 2 holes in it with the tip of a pencil, and throw that on your fire, and let that smoke season whatever you're cooking. It's amazing. I've done some Italian meat. I did a Kamado Joe video a long time ago, where I made some Italian meatballs and I smoked them that way with the smoke from rosemary, sage, and thyme stems, and it's incredible. And that's one of the ones that makes your neighbors want to know what you're cooking also, because the aroma of those herbs comes out from their stems as well. It's crazy. So I hope I've covered everything I wanted. I think I have covered everything I wanted to talk about tonight. It's just dry aging, and I probably won't talk much about dry aging again. Maybe next week I'll show you some pictures of the process of getting that roast out of its cryovac and getting it into the dry age bag from Umai. There's a little process that needs to be followed there to make that smooth. But and then you've run the vacuum sealer. This is one of those situations where if you've got a food saver, the lowest end food saver is the best one to have for this, because it allows you to start and stop the vacuum. Getting a good getting the surface of these bags in contact with the meats is important. It's not highly critical, but what I like to do is start the vacuum and get a lot of the air out, and then I try to massage the air pockets out of it, and then run the vacuum some more, massage the air pockets out before I actually seal the bag up, and it gives you the optimal results. And all those instructions are on Umai's website. You'll find all that. So you'll just have to have a look at that. And Ron, I came across their videos this week. I saw their YouTube channel. I can't remember which videos I saw from them. It may have been salami. In fact, I think it was. I think I watched them do salami. They have a piece of equipment that I don't have. They've got the meat mixer where you crank and mix the meat. And I don't know if I'm gonna buy one of those or not, because I don't know if I'm gonna do 10 pounds of anything at one time or not. I should be able to mix my meat adequately with my professional grade KitchenAid for now. But yeah, I saw them. I can't remember if I subscribed to I subscribed to a couple of channels this week where there's a lot of people doing dry aging, and I think they're one of them. So yeah, I saw that. Mark, thanks for the comment there. I appreciate it. I'm glad that everybody's interested. That kind of feedback makes me sure I feel like I'm not wasting any time out here. I love doing the live stream. This is something I wasn't sure if I would enjoy or not, but so far I've had a good time doing this. So if you enjoy it, let me know. And also, please feel free to leave me a comment and let me know topics that you'd like to see discussed on these live streams. Tonight's discussion about dry aging is totally from comments that I got from you guys, and Huzaifa particularly. We were talking about dry aging. Dry aging is a great thing. What the other thing I meant to do this week that I didn't is I've got a grocery store in the next town over that sells dry aged beef, and they dry age it right there in the store. And I wanted to go look and see what the current prices are on that dry aged beef, because the last time I bought any of it, it was nearly $30 a pound. But that was before the beef prices had gone up to where they are now. So I'm expecting that $30 a pound dry aged ribeye and strip that they were selling is probably $40 or $45 a pound by now. That would be my guess. But I meant to go in there and look, but I just forgot to do it. Maybe that's something I'll do this coming week, because I'd like to know. And you can't get into dry aging thinking you're going to save money, because you're probably not. You're going to have to dry age an awful lot of beef to get to any kind of break even point. You want to do this because you want to be in charge of the process more so than saving money. It's not something where you're going to save a buck. But I like being hands-on. I like to do the work. I like to get my hands dirty. I like to mix the flour, yeast, water, and salt. I like to make that dough, and I like to see the variations I get out of it. If somebody else made it, I don't know why it tastes like it does, or why that texture is that way. I like to do it myself. So, what do you think, Jeff? Do you think I'm going to save any money dry aging?
No, but I think you're going to make up some money if you start doing a lot of charcuteries with it, and your pepperonis and whatnot. I think at some point you'll have a return on your investment. I just don't know how many years that's going to take.
Well, my return on the investment's not money. It's the satisfaction of doing it myself. I like cooking. Fortunately, it is cheaper to cook at home most of the time. It's not often that I can prepare a meal here that cost more than I would pay for the exact same meal somewhere else. And Tanya likes it when I cook. So let's I gotta get Tanya back here before we shut down. Tanya won't eat certain things out anymore because she likes the way it's prepared here at home.
That's true.
So,
as a matter of fact, if you said we'll never go out again, I think I'd probably be okay with that.
In fact, I prepared. There's some pictures I could have put in here this week. Let me have a look because I prepared one of the meals I prepared this week was. Let's see. Here we go. I pan-seared some pork chops because Tanya likes pork chops, and I bought a new non-stick skillet that I'm trying to learn to make good omelets. But these are pork loin chops. I buy whole pork loins, and I slice them into inch thick steaks. And in this case, I put these in this pan, and I seared these guys with ghee that I made myself as well, and seared them on both sides and get a nice looking sear here. That looks beautiful, in my opinion. And then I seasoned those up a little bit. I put some of the Man Cave Meals pork mojo on that, and then basted some of that hot ghee over the top of it. And when I got the sear where I wanted it, I took those guys out and put them in the Anova precision oven in the sous vide mode at 140 degrees and just let those ride there while I did some fondant potatoes. I seared these potatoes up, seasoned those with Atlanta Grill Company's Himalayan Sherpa, salt, pepper, garlic, and then put those in the oven and let them finish up. These are a fantastic side that's really easy to make. And then I took that same nonstick skillet and with some more ghee and some more Atlanta Grill Company Himalayan Sherpa, we kind of pan scalded some green beans out of Tanya's dad's garden. And that's what we had for what this was last night. What night did I do that?
I think it was last night. It was really good.
I don't remember.
Whatever night it was really good. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a real simple dinner. And this dinner, there's less than $2 worth of food on that plate.
But maybe $3,
maybe $2. One russet potato, one pork loin chop, and some green beans that didn't cost me anything but a little bit of time. And these are not bone in. This is from the pork loin. It's a boneless pork loin. There's a little bit of a fat cap, and also in these pictures here, unfortunately, I tied these guys up before I cut those down. I tie them off with butcher's twine to give them a round shape because those guys are kind of oblong. If you don't, and I like a little bit rounder shape on mine, so that's what you have there. Those are not bone in. If I buy pork chops, I do buy bone in, and I buy the rib bone in rather than the T-bone type pork chops. Publix has those things, and they're off the hook. Sam's Club recently has started. My local Sam's Club has those as well, and they're really good. But when I do those chops, I do my cinnamon molasses brine, and all those are good too.
Well, anytime we eat in, the food tastes great, and the waiter, he's hot.
Those rack of pork that we did here a couple weeks ago, those turned out awesome.
The rack of pork.
Yeah, those are really good.
I've got one of those in the freezer. I went back. Those were Christmas. I did those back in December.
Oh, it hasn't been that long ago.
It's been a while. It was like in December when I did that, really? I think. Yeah, it's. But I figured. I said that's going to be a seasonal item at Costco, and I went back and bought another one, and I've got one in the freezer that I haven't cooked yet. It's Swift. I think it's a Swift brand. And yes, those were amazing. And I might try to do another one. I did that. I cooked that one on the Masterbuilt 1050. So maybe I'll try to come up with another way to do that. And I had talked about doing a pork prime rib, because that basically is the prime rib from the pork. And but that rack of pork, what is it? It's like 8 bones.
Yeah.
It's a big one. And maybe I can find another technique and do that one. But like I said, I've got one of those in the freezer. I bought
did mine on the Charcuterie, and I mean, it came out fantastic.
Yeah. I guess you did it on the Big Joe though.
Yep.
That piece might be a little bit large for classic on the Joe.
Yeah, that's why I did it on the Big Joe. It was just it only left you about an inch on each side on the classic, and that's a little closer than I'd like to get.
Well, I don't own a Big Joe anymore, and I haven't asked for one, but man, I like the classic, and I can push my classic to no ends, and that's one of the reasons you'll see me recommending classics for people. I know a lot of people come into the forums and say, which one should I buy? And I'm one of the few guys out there that recommends the classic over the Big Joe. I think the Big Joe's got its place in the world. If you're going to cook your entire meal on the grill, then the Big Joe's probably the way to go. Or if you're going to need that much space at least 25% of the time, then I'd buy the Big Joe. But I like to push my classic, and I still think the sweet spot's having 2 classics.
I would agree with you. If you're going to have just two classics would be the way to go.
Yep.
But I started out and all I had was the Big Joe. So I mean, everything was cooked on the Big Joe.
Right.
Noodle sides and everything.
So you're a good person to answer this question. Then, did you ever feel like it was a lot of work to fire up the Big Joe to make smaller cooks?
No, absolutely
no.
not.
See, that's the part.
Even if I was making a smaller cook, I'd put that divider in.
Yeah.
And I use half the bottom, full of lump. So it's very fuel efficient. I mean, when you do it that way.
Well, my whole philosophy is changing. I got to be careful with this when I answer questions, because I am blessed with grills. I am. I admit it. I've got way more than I need, but I've got the really right grill for about everything I'd ever want to do. And I love that PK Go. That portable PK grill. I love cooking on that thing, and it's Tanya and I, most of the time here, I'm cooking for 2 people, and most of the time I'm not cooking the entire meal on the grill. And because of that, most of the time I can get away with using a little tiny grill. I could do it on the Joe Jr. I could do it on the PK Go. So, all right, guys, I'm running long here again. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Tanya and I are ready for some dinner. We always eat dinner late on Friday night. And Jeff, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
No problem. Anytime.
And I got one last comment coming in there. John says, did you talk smoking game like venison and wild turkey? Nope, I did not. I don't know much about that. My experience with deer is very limited, and wild game in particular. I've got friends that hunt, and I tell you what, deer season's coming in here, and I'll see if I can round up a Denver roast or something from some of my friends that hunt, and see if I can get some venison. I have very limited experience cooking venison, and most of the venison I've had in the past, I've turned into jerky. And I know that's a crime, but the guy that used to give me venison a long time ago would give me stuff that was suitable for jerky, and it wasn't prime for something else. So, yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it. And like I said, leave me a comment if there's some specific topics that you'd like to have discussed on a Friday night. And also, if you'd like to come on live with me to discuss those topics, let me know. I'd be more than happy to bring you on. That's all you need is a phone or a tablet or a PC with a webcam. I can bring you right in here with me. So, guys, Have a good week. And until next time, have a good one.